In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in black and white emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. I'm your host, Charles King. Tonight, we're going to start the show with a Black History reflection before I introduce our guest tonight. Our Black History reflection will be on Marsha P. Johnson. Marsha P. Johnson stands as one of the most courageous and transformative figures in American history. A Black trans woman whose activism helped ignite the modern LGBTQ plus rights movement. Born in 1945 in Elizabeth, New Jersey, Marsha became a central figure in the Stonewall Uprising of 1969, a moment that reshaped the fight for dignity, equality, and liberation. But Marsha's legacy is deeper than protest. She embodied radical love. She cared for unhoused LGBTQ plus youth, advocated for sex workers, fought for people living with HIV and AIDS, and co-founded STAR, Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, a groundbreaking organization that provided shelter, safety, and community for those society discarded. Marsha reminds us that freedom work is intersectional, it is Black, it is queer, it is spiritual, it is human. Her life teaches us that advocacy is not just about speaking truth, it's about living it. Even when even when the world, even when the world refuses to see your humanity. Tonight, as we welcome a man whose life is also rooted in transformation, truth, and the elevation of marginalized, we honor Marsha P. Johnson's enduring message. No pride for some of us without liberation for all of us. So, welcome to another powerful episode of America in Black and White, where we explore the stories, struggles, triumphs, and brilliance that shape our communities and our culture. Tonight, we sit with a man whose life is a testament to what happens when purpose meets discipline, when faith meets strategy, and when lived experience becomes a blueprint for someone else's breakthrough. Our guest has walked through Harlem's grit, served in New York schools and communities, mentored returning citizens, guided young people toward better futures, and authored books that speak to the soul of recovery, resilience, and real change. He is a chaplain, a deacon, a drama minister, a mentor, a coach, and a builder of people. He is a man who believes that transformation is not only possible, it is necessary, and he shows up every day as proof. Tonight, we welcome Andrèe Paul, a voice of truth, a vessel of healing, and a champion for those fighting to become better than they were yesterday. So let's get into it and let's introduce and let's bring to the show Mr. Andrèe Paul. Hello, sir.
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm
You hear
doing
me?
great.
Can you hear me
Yes,
loud
sir.
and clear?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Okay.
Welcome to the show.
Is everything straight in front?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's rock and roll then. Yeah.
So welcome to the show. Is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before we go get into the show?
Well, first and foremost, I want to give honor to God who's truly the head of my life, to my anointing pastor and first lady, and each and every one's assembled here. And I want to just thank you, Mr. Charles Zachary King, for choosing me to be a part of this platform and understanding that the diversity of what we do in human services is more important than segregating anything. And it's important to know that because us as people are divided and conquered so quickly over the most frivolous things. And the biggest common denominator that we do have is that we all human beings.
Yes, sir. Most definitely. So I want to get into a part where I want to, so I can have the audience get the opportunity to learn a little bit more about you. So can you tell us who was Andrèe Paul before the titles, the books, and the ministry?
Wow. So you want me to pedal back that far, huh? Right. Well, thank God from a loving mother who has a lot to do with why these books was comprised. Just from being a mother from day one, the first blessing that God gave me after breath was my loving mother. And that's everybody call her Miss Cookie, but that's Miss Marcelina Wan. And I was thankfully raised from Harlem in the Bronx, born in Harlem, raised mostly in the Bronx up until I got old enough to get up out that Bronx and go see other things. And but I was bused to predominantly white schools where the education that I got was like a blessing because that's what saved my life in the long run. That education actually um, coincided with how I was able to live through them rough sides. Okay, and my books are called The Smooth Side of Roughness for a reason because it's actually a testament of my life journey.
Okay. So growing up in Harlem, what experiences shaped your understanding of resilience?
Wow. So coming up in being born in the 60s, coming up in the 70s and just watching the Harlem, the aftermath of the Harlem Renaissance and all the things that was going on in Harlem, and just seeing that no matter what, I was amongst a lot of people that endured, people that was resilient, where they was able to show me, not tell me, but show me how to be a champion and adjust. So me watching that and understanding that in order for us to really move upward and forward, we have to learn from what we went through and take the positive out of it and don't harbor on the negative and continue to take that and not only for yourself but disseminate it, share it. I'm saying not keep it to yourself, but it's other people that can use your experience. So your experience is not just for you.
So, when you think of, back during those times when you were coming up in Harlem, can you tell us how have those experiences of that learned experience, how did that transition to you becoming the man that you are today?
Okay, so being born in Harlem, being raised my younger life in the Bronx, but going back and forth to Harlem weekends. Both my grandmothers lived across the street from each other. That's how my mother and my father met, got married, and made me.
Mhm.
you know, and so Harlem showed me a different dynamic than the Bronx. The Bronx was a different wilderness. Okay, Harlem had what you would call bona fide hustlers,
Okay.
and those are the people that caught my attention. Ironically, one of my influences was, I don't know if you're familiar with uh, an author called Donald Goines.
Oh, most definitely.
Okay, well, what happened with me is because I read a lot growing up in elementary school. By the time I hit the sixth grade, I read all of Donald Goines' books. So when I got down to Harlem, I seen players in that book, in those books, in real time. I'm seeing Horson. I'm saying all these different characters, and so I guess I decided to be a character, and so I played out a lot of those characters from them books, you know. And his last book, Donald Writes No More, his first book actually, he wrote while he was in prison, right?
Right.
And my first book was written when I was in prison, but it got stolen by the editors, and it came out in other people's books and movies and all that. I'm not going to even name none of them, but it was shocking, you know. One of the authors, God rest his soul, his whole series of books was about one of my adult services, I would call it.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah. So just knowing that Donald Goins inspired me to want to be an author. My first passion was I wanted to be a veterinarian.
Hmm.
And so my mother, my loving mother, I talk about, she decided to let me have hamsters, gerbils, a rabbit, a cat, a dog, fish, birds, all in one time,
Hmm.
right? Because I wanted to be this veterinarian. So she actually always empowered anything that we, 'cause I have a brother and sister, right? From my mother, got a bunch of brothers and sisters from my father. That's a whole nother story. But she she um she supported me wanting to be a veterinarian, but in that process I realized I didn't want to be a veterinarian no more. Like my rabbit's leg broke and I was all emotional, and I just didn't want to do it no more. But the author side of it I always was embracing. And then not just that, when the weekends came, I have a cousin that's like my sister. We're the same age. Her name is Estelle. We're the same age, and she used to come over every weekend. And every weekend, when her mother, my aunt Dolores, would come and pick her up, we would do a little show.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Me, my sister, my cousin, and my little brother. We would add him in, and we would do a little show. And that show is just so funny how you have to go all the way back to where you begin at to find your purpose. Like it took me all these years to go back, and now I have my purpose. So in that purpose, I'm an author, publisher, and that's what I wanted to be as young. I'm the director of the drama department, the drama guild for my church, and a lot of great things is going on. I'm on podcasts. I'm travel. Good things going on, and it all derived from that first passion. So I strongly suggest anybody that's looking for their purpose, revisit your childhood because your purpose is a lot of times right there in your childhood.
Well, before we get going any further, I just want to let you know that let me show you this on the screen here in the chat section. That there are lots and lots of folk here that are here supporting you. I'll put them on the screen. There's a right, and here is
Melissa,
Melissa.
wow.
There's Melissa again. She says blessings.
Hmm.
And here is, there's Melissa again. Hey, Andrèe.
Hmm.
And there is,
Okay, Sloan, Melissa, Sloan, wow.
okay. And here is,
Sahara, hey Sahara, Anthony, Sahara, okay. There's some
yeah,
folks there. We just getting started, huh?
again, there is Michael
Mike
Dudley.
Dudley, okay, Mike.
And here is
Hello,
Yvonne.
Evangelist Yvonne, hey.
And there is another one there. Here is A Wright.
Okay, that's Anthony again, yeah.
And there is
Okay,
Pamela.
Pamela. Hey, stop right there for a minute. So Pamela actually is a friend slash sister of mine from kindergarten
Oh, wow.
who actually has a testimony in the book. So a lot of people have testimonies in the book, and she's one of them. So we have 50 years of friendship, brother slash sisterhood.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And there is
Okay, and I can't be amiss because I got the text just now. Pamela's husband, Stephen, is on there with her. He just texted
okay.
me. I can't leave him out. He kind of big.
Uh,
Okay, Elder Cruz. All right, I see you, Elder Cruz.
uh,
Okay, so hey, Sloan is amazing. Sloan was actually one of my rideshare drivers recently. She grabbed the book immediately, and we've been in communication every day. You know, I sent out these motivational texts. Remind me to talk about that because that's very important. Okay.
okay. And this one is from Yvonne again. She says, hello, Andrèe, and blessings.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so you've got plenty of support here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, next question here for you is what was the earliest moment you realized you were called to serve?
The earliest moment I knew I was called to serve, it had to be in the early 2000s when I realized that God was using me to serve in the darkness all the time. I didn't know it.
Uh huh.
Okay. Okay, cousin Bernice. I'm getting the texts. We must have missed some people. Okay, my pastor, Jay Gooden Senior is on. Hey, Pastor. God bless you. Right. So I'm getting the texts. So whatever we missing in the chat, I'm getting in the text. So I guess we're gonna have to work simultaneously together to acknowledge these folks as they're coming on because that acknowledgement is important because I walk in such a simultaneous journey in my life right now with a lot of these people that's on here right now. You know, so it's important to me that they know how important they are to me.
Okay.
Okay, so where we at?
So, what was the earliest moment you realized you were called to serve?
Okay, the earliest moment when I was still in my street life, but I was paying rent for apartments that for people that didn't have no place to rest. Um, and although I was showing them the wrong things to survive, but I was sharing what I knew to survive at that time. Like now, some of the things now that I've transitioned into, I still share those. So whatever I had for us to eat and survive, I always shared it. I'm saying in the wilderness up until now, you know. And I just want to say this: that service, I can go all the way back to elementary school with it because for some reason I remember even like outside playing, and we lived in the building with a courtyard. And one of the older women, she started calling me Spanky. She said I remind her of Spanky from the Little Rascals in the middle of all the kids because you know how Spanky was,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I always was in the middle of everything, you know. And sometimes I think I'm probably still in the middle of everything. I don't know, you know, but I was called to serve, and I was used to serve
Mm-hmm.
at a very young age. But I would say that I was aware of it in like maybe 2005 when I first got my first job, and because I did a lot of management in the, the I would call it I call it the adult entertainment field, and coming out of that field, I wound up landing a job in HIV and AIDS awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at one of the posters right now because some of my dances and exotic entertainment, all that, I started getting them on safer sex posters, safer sex campaigns. And so I took that, what I was doing, and transitioned it into something positive as soon as I understood a chance to do that. And it's funny because, well, I'm getting more texts. I'm getting a lot of texts. you know, I maybe better leave that alone right now. But honestly, I guess I would say my my awareness of knowing I was used to serve was probably in 2005.
So, how did your upbringing influence the man you became?
Well, because of my, I would call it hustling skills, which is entrepreneurial skills on the other side of life, I was embraced and nurtured by the best out there in the street. So me being a teenager, young, I was amongst 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds, and they all, and I gotta give a shout out to my godmother, Ramona Laws Ratty, because she really was that uh, that angel that God put in that wilderness that really guided me in a lot of ways. And our birthday, it's funny how we met. Her birthday was November 19th, mine was the 18th. We met on my birthday and bought in her birthday the night we met, and we was inseparable up until I lost her in 20s. That would be 2019.
So, as you think about your transition from your childhood to now, what are some of the things that you can do from an advice perspective to help some of these younger kids coming along that may be on that same path?
Uh, they whatever. Don't don't think that you got all the time in the world. Okay, finish. If I would do anything, because I didn't get my college degrees until 2017, so I wind up with uh, because I was working in human services, I wind up with associated in human services, a bachelor's in human services, and a master's in public administration. Although I had a PhD from the hood, from the street, you
Mhm.
know, and that develops a strong diversity when you are street savvy and also academically inclined.
Mhm.
So I would say for anybody, get that education out the way early, early. Thank God I was able to do it, and I I'm looking at the possibility of going back. I started to get my PhD, then I stopped because I started doing a business that I did pretty well in, but I stopped getting the PhD. But I think I'm gonna be Dr. Dre, Dr. Dre with a degree. You know,
Nice.
yeah. And just anybody young or younger, I should say, because wherever you at is where you can start. Life, you could revamp life constantly. Life, you could put restart on life constantly. So, but don't let the grass grow under your feet. Motivation beats education. If you're motivated with no education, you could make it in life. I actually know millionaires with no GED. But
Mhm.
if you're educated with no motivation, with no resources or anything, you stop. You're not going nowhere.
So, what role did faith play in your childhood and young adulthood?
Say, please, repeat that.
What role did faith play in your childhood and young adulthood?
Wow, that's a good one there. Okay, so my faith started way before I was aware that it started. So when you young, elementary school young, and you get dressed for Easter, and you go to church, and they say, anybody want to accept Jesus Christ? And you stumble. Well, I stumbled my big head up there and accepted Jesus Christ. So through all the wilderness, I was covered. But I didn't know I was covered. I didn't know I was covered until it was time for me to know that I was covered. And in knowing that, I can like go back to so many ways that I know that God was there to save me. When I got shot, the first time I seen like a vision of it is when I got shot when I was like 15, 16 years old. Thank God the way it happened, the I was sitting down in a chair. So the blast of the gun knocked me back. And when it knocked me back, the bullet didn't go completely in. It just grazed my eye really badly, where my eyesight declined as I got older. But that right there is the first time that I realized that faith is involved in everything that I've done from that moment of me accepting God and Jesus. I went through different phases. I was a 5%er, right? Then I took my Shahada in Islam, right? I'm getting so many texts here, right? I took, but whoever send them texts, I know you're on. Put that same stuff in the chat. Put that same stuff in the chat, so that way, Mr. Charles Zachary King could work a little harder, huh? Yeah. So actually, the faith I wind up knowing was just part of my journey up until I finally uh and I say this because my mother, like I said, my mother, she didn't make us go to church religiously or anything, but she's a praying mother, and she definitely loves saying is a godly woman. But in elementary school, Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman, I studied. I studied strongly, right? And one of Frederick Douglass' famous quotes is, "It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men," right? And I looked at a Bible scripture that says, "Train a child up in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." And then that right there let me know that what was instilled in me young only needed to be watered so I could blossom into who I am right now. So intentionally pursuing my faith, I wind up actually, and this is in my third book I'm working on right now. I was online one time, and a pastor reached out to me, and I went to his church, and I stayed at his church. That was in 2011. All of a sudden, he disappeared, but I had keys to the church. And I didn't hear from him again until the night that my father transitioned. I didn't hear from him at all till the night that my father transitioned. And in my father transition, that first church closed, and I stayed at the church that my father requested. Told my little sister, shout out to my little sister Jackie, who I'm very proud of. But I stayed at that church after my father's homegoing service. Okay, but that church is still there. I visited as of recently for homegoing service for one of the deacons, right? And I wound up moving on from that church, and I wind up going to another church because I started working in mental illness and mental health. And I met a sister. She introduced me to another pastor. He took me to another church. And I had just said my human service bachelor's degree, I don't want to get stuck in there. So I'm switching to my master's degree in public administration. So that Pastor Michael Faulkner, Reverend Michael Faulkner, Dr. Michael Faulkner, he's the one that wrote the foreword for both of my books. He announced that he was running for mayor. I wind up being the deputy campaign manager and any parts of management that I can because I'm a floater normally, right? And any place that I was able to work on that campaign, I worked on that campaign on down to right before right before I graduated, my capstone, I picked sanctuary cities, and it was a congresswoman out of Staten Island, and she had just sued the mayor about sanctuary cities. So I met her. We was at a dinner called a Lincoln's dinner, and I met her, and told her, that my capstone wasn't everything. She gave me a number. She gave me a website. She gave me the office address. And she said, anything that you want to cite from anything for your paper, you're more than welcome. Of course, I aced that paper. But I say that to say that God has always put people in my path one way or another. And my third book, I'm just going to say it right now because it's in fruition. It'll be published this year. It's called God Winks and Whispers. There's so many winks and whispers in my life, and winks and whispers up until a couple of days ago. I don't know if Mama Mo's on, but um, I was at a prayer, uh, uh, like a prayer meeting in Harlem on Sunday. Me and Deacon, the missionary from my church, shout out to Deacon Parker and Missionary Parker, and we went down. And when it was time for me to leave, my driver called, and he said, "I'm early." He said, "Are you over there in the park where the ladies on the mic look like she's preaching?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm going to park. I'm coming in." So he came in. He ate, broke bread with us and everything. He stayed. He had a marvelous time. And when it was time for me to leave, um, I said, I was showing him my book, right? And he reached in the glove compartment and pulled out his book. His name was Christian, you know, and that's a wink. You know what I'm saying? And that's a whisper. That's what I call a wink and a whisper from God, because me thinking I have to leave earlier than I thought because he's early, but for him to stay and coming to the service the prayer service we was having, break bread, also be an author, it's just amazing. And you don't, to me, you don't take those kind of things for granted, because God shows you things, you know, and when you when your spiritual eye is open, you learn how to embrace those things, and you learn how to see those things. It's funny for me because we talking about my faith, and I realized faith has always been there, but intentional faith, intentional praying, the intentionality of things is different. So by grace, God had you, but the intentionality is what takes you to the next levels. And even how me and you met, that's next level. Next level. So just to go back to my book really quick, my books, volume 1 and volume 2. This is not a life story. My life story that's coming, that's being worked on. That's a whole nother conversation. It doesn't fit in the book. Like I always tell my pastor, my church members, if I do a testimony in church, we're gonna be there from one Sunday to the next. So this is the most of my testimony I'm able to get out for a lot of my church members that's on here right now. And you know, this right here, these books are not about my life story. It's what I grabbed from my life story, what I've learned from my life story. So the books are motivational books. They are affirmations and they inspirational books. And let me tell you where the book started from.
Well,
Unless you want me to wait a
we're
minute.
gonna get into those a little bit later.
Okay. Let me follow. Hey, let me trust the process. Go ahead.
What is one lesson Harlem taught you that you still carry today?
Say it one more time, please.
What is one lesson Harlem taught you that you still carry today?
What lesson?
One lesson.
One lesson that Harlem taught me. Well, one of the biggest lessons that Harlem's taught me is that watch who you're amongst. Watch who you let like watch who you let come across your threshold.
Mhm.
because people bring spirits, good and bad. So in Harlem, people it's funny. Nobody don't want nobody to know where they live at.
Mm.
You know, and that's a New York thing.
Mhm,
Not too many New Yorkers just giving out their address.
mhm,
You know, that and also something that my godmother taught me, and this quote is in my book from her. As long as you have something to sell, you never go broke.
mm.
You know.
Let's let's transition over to your education, human services, and public administration.
hmm
What inspired you to pursue degrees in human services and public administration?
Okay. Well, I think I kind of answered that when I talked about working in HIV and AIDS awareness after being in management in adult entertainment industry, right? And transitioned because I was at a show in Brooklyn that I commentated the show, and a guy came up and he was struggling with his group at his job, and he asked me to come. So I didn't just come by myself. I had about maybe 5 people with me, and the that was like on a Thursday. That Friday, he called me. Can you come into the office on Monday? My director want to talk to you. So I um I came in that Monday. He said, "You got a resume?" I said, "I'll get one together." And I came in that Monday, and the director, and I want to give a shout out to Antonio Rivera, and I want to give a shout out to Miss Tabor, Miss Violet Tabor, who was the executive director. When I came in, he told me, "We didn't have to go through all this. We've been watching you for a long time. We already know we want you. Come on, I'm gonna show you where you're gonna be sitting." And he took me to the little cube, and I really wasn't taking this serious. And a couple of days later, um, he said it's official. And I stayed on that job for 7 years. The only reason that I left that job is because they transitioned me from HIV and AIDS awareness to prison reentry. Now, HIV and AIDS awareness, my interview landed us a SAMHSA grant for SAMHSA, and that grant was $500,000 a year annually over 5 years. And when that grant was over, they couldn't sustain my salary, so they tried to move me to the prison reentry one because I was simultaneously doing both in the office. Which I still do prison reentry right now. Um, So the human service is because of my servitude for many years. I just naturally. Oh, so I was doing a group at this job, and one of the young guys, he was young at that time. He's younger than me. There was a group of them, and he got a testimony in the book too. Shout out to Eric Thompson, right? He got a testimony in the book. One of the guys asked me, "Well, what degree you got, Mister Paul?" And I took a deep breath. I said, "I got a degree in gangster." Right? And they said, "Ooh," right? And so that's when I talked about motivation versus education. That if you're motivated without no education, you can make it in this world, but if you're educated with no motivation, you're stuck. But when I left, I had a companion pass and I flew out to Detroit, but I was so about him asking me that question and me not having an answer, right? So I came back that Monday and I went straight to go register for college. Lo and behold, now this is something that I got out of. I have to pedal back a minute. Um, the the old timers in Harlem, if I didn't go to school, I couldn't get no money with them. So I wound up taking my GED after I got shot, and my mother sent me down in South Carolina with my sister, my Ava. Shout out to my big little sister, my Ava. And I scored so high on my GED when I got back. I got accepted into a special program in Pace University. Okay. And that right there came up on the interview for me going to college. Said, you ever been to college? I said, yeah, I went for a couple of years. They said, oh, you are like very shy of your associate degree. And that's because them old timers in Harlem made me go to school. So I wound up getting associated in human services, then the bachelor's in human services because I'm working in human services, and everything that I did for school corresponded with work and vice versa. Same thing with the master's degree. Everything I did for the campaign corresponded with school. So it's like that's God winking and whispering again. I'm gonna put you in a position where you're what you learning, you working on it. I'm a hands-on learner anyway. You learned that this morning. That's how that greens. I'm a hands-on learner. If you give me a manual and all that, I go crazy. But put me hands-on, and that's my best way of learning. Then I read the manual. But
Right.
reading the manual is just what I would call just an enhancement to what I learned with my hands.
Mm.
You know, so yeah, that's that.
So, how has your academic training shaped your approach to mentorship?
Well, like I said earlier, I I honestly don't hoard. If I got something to share, I'm going to share it. And some people think about sharing as in monetary things, but knowledge and wisdom is one of the biggest things you want somebody to share with you.
Right.
You know, um, and because I realize that people are mentally incarcerated, and mental incarceration is worse than physical incarceration. You got people that's physically free that's mentally incarcerated. You got
Yeah.
people that's in the prison system that's mentally free. I got one writing a book right now, and it's funny because he's up in well, he's not there no more, but he was up in because I do ghostwriting, right? And he's up in a facility. He was up in a facility where Harriet Tubman house that when I went to visit, they took us past Harriet Tubman's house. Now I told you I studied Harriet Tubman. So in mentorship with him in prison, I told him, you are incarcerated in a town where one of the most freedom activists lived, you know, and everybody is not going to be mentally free. Okay. And Harriet Tubman said it best. I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if they only knew they were slaves. Some people don't even know that they need to be freed. We creatures of habit, and some habits people are going to always keep. You know, just just knowing that some people that hustle because of struggle are brilliant, and if they went the entrepreneurial route, they would have it made.
Let me get some of these. There's like an enormous amount of these chats. I mean, people are still saying hello and greetings from a lot of different places. But here's an actual comment here that I think maybe you might want to respond to this one.
Hey, Miss Betty, how you doing, Miss Betty? Shout out to you, Leon Senior and Junior, and all the rest of the family.
Okay, and I put that one on the screen as well.
Hey, Big Rick, yeah, that's my brother in Christ. There, he has a lot to do with the stability, as in me growing.
Mm,
Like been through a lot of phases with me. You
mm.
know, he's a very good brother, very good brother. And I know it's a bunch of people on here. Hey, Sherman. Okay, all right, Sherman. That's my little big brother in Christ, because he bigger than me, but he younger than me, so he's my little big brother. Yeah, shout out Sherman. Okay, Brian. All right, you know how we do, Brian. God bless. Give the family my love.
And
Okay, that's Sloan again. Yes, Sloan. Yes, Sloan. And I gotta sign that book, Sloan. You ain't got me to sign that book yet. Okay, okay, Big Los. That's one my big bodyguard. He about 6'6".
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's Z2. Z2. That's one of my guys. He do some things with me. He's actually in Togo, Africa right now. He lives here, but he's from Togo, Africa. And we laugh because I deal with a lot of people from Africa, and I did my ancestry. And all my ancestry come from the first place Togo, like him, and then Nigeria, and then okay, and then Ghana. Okay, Osman from Ghana. Hey, what's going on? So you got people from Africa on here right now. I'm proud of you. I got to get to Ghana and Togo, y'all. Okay. Thank you, brother Chairman. I appreciate you, man. We got work to do, bro. Okay. Mario Pierce, Dr. Pierce. That's like a son of mine, and he's a doctor and a college professor out in Chicago. I just left him.
oh wow.
Yeah, I just left him. Yeah, and I went from Detroit I went Detroit, Chicago, Canada, back to Detroit for book signings. Okay, okay, okay. Big Pico, Manuel. Okay, I see you. Amen, brother. The folks is on there. Yeah, we meet up soon, Sloan. I'm looking forward. Right. Um, I see you. I see you, Osman. I see you. Right.
And
And,
so, go ahead.
okay. So I just now ran into something else that Harlem taught me. Okay. Do you want me to backpedal or want to just keep moving forward?
You can go ahead and fit it in.
Okay. So I learned this, but you know how you learn something, but now you can verbalize it.
Hmm.
And it's called being on the right side of money and learn how to get paid in your sleep. Okay, so let me expound on that. Okay. You got employee. Okay, first, the average person. See, some things we learn we have to unlearn.
Hmm.
Just like a computer, we have to delete, defrag, and do all those things and restart. That's how we gotta do our brain,
Hmm.
right? And you know, we told get a good education, get a good job, and work for 40 years. But in that, especially in public systems, they didn't teach you how to get paid in your sleep, be a business owner, or anything like that. So
Right.
you got you got four quadrants, right?
Hmm.
One on one side you got employee and self-employed, right? And then on the other side you got business owner and investor. So I always in mentorship, I always tell people where you find yourself there because an employee trades time for money. It's never enough time to trade for money in order to be wealthy. But everybody don't want to be wealthy, but if you want to be wealthy, if you want to make $1 million, you have to make $650 hourly, 40 hours a week for 52 weeks in a year in order to make one little stinking $1 million. And I say stinking $1 million because the $1 million is not worth what $1 million was before. Of course, we know how the economy is, right? But
Hmm.
nobody's paying you $650 an hour.
Hmm.
Like I said, I got 3 degrees. I looked at some of your prior shows. I seen 3 on your wall.
Hmm.
Ain't nobody paying us $650. If we don't get learn how to get paid in our sleep, we will never advance. And this is important. And anybody from my church that's on here, and I say church, I'm gonna say this because everybody got different faiths. We got freedom of religion, we got freedom of speech, and people got different faiths. I love when somebody believes in something bigger than themselves. I don't. It's not my decision on what you believe in, but if it's bigger than you, I could deal with that because a lot of times when it's not that way, we deal with narcissistic behavior. You know,
Hmm.
but my famous, if they tell me right now to quote a scripture, I'm gonna go iron sharpens iron. So one man sharpens the countenance of his friend. Proverbs 27:17. Okay. We have to sharpen each other. Okay. And we also have to have a vision. You know, our church theme this year is victory in the vision. And where there's no vision, the people will perish. But he that keeps the law is happy, right?
Mhm.
And that right there tells us a lot because if you don't have a vision to lead people, or you don't have the trust in somebody leading you with a vision, we lost.
Mhm.
You have to have a vision. Some people will do this, do that, do this, but the end game, the vision of the end game, they can't verbalize it to you. They can't show it to you. If I could, I can't show you right now, but I got a whole vision board. I got to update it, right? But I got a whole vision board
Mhm.
because them visions have to be in your reticular activating system. See, because in your reticular activating system, it's like we know what it is. A lot of people might not know how what you call it, right? But you know how you might buy a white Mercedes, and you
Mhm.
bought this white Mercedes. Now every place you go, now you see all these white Mercedes. That's because now that white Mercedes is in your reticular activating system.
Mhm.
So you have to be able to put things in there that works because we creatures of habit, as I said, we're gonna have habits, good and bad. So and we're gonna do them habits naturally. So it's best to have more good habits than bad. So that way you operate in on the positive side of the tracks rather than the negative. But the negative's gonna be there. You know, that's just we human beings. That's just gonna be there. But we have to operate on the positive side. That's how I identify people because I see the positive in people first, even though there's some negatives there. If your positive outweigh your negatives, I rock with you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I move along with you.
So, can you tell us what does being PhD bound represent for you at this stage of your life?
Well, I made a joke always to be Dr. Dre, but actually it looks like I'm going PhD bound in either theology or Christian counseling.
Mhm.
Yeah. Just looking at my savvy and motivational interviewing and all those because see our spiritual journey brings us like for me the Bible, right? But it's things in the Bible that some people not ready for. So I have to take off that clergy hat, and it's a human service mantra where you meet people where they at. And I'm gonna have to take that clergy hat off for a second and put on my motivational hat to reach somebody. The goal is to reach them, and thank God, also younger motivational speakers. I was blessed to get motivation and be amongst the Dick Gregory's, God rest his soul, and the Les Browns, God rest his soul. I mean, not God rest his soul, he's still here. I don't know why I said that. Les Brown is definitely still here and doing his thing still. And Tony Robbins, I did his firewalk experience at 20 years old.
Mhm.
But it's all that because it's fair into power, the firewalk experience. But instead of taking all that power and doing the positive things, I took it to the streets.
Mm.
Yeah. And see, when you go down the wrong path, sometimes you have to come all the way back to the fork of the road. When you made that choice to go down the wrong path, to
Mhm.
switch off and go down the right path.
Oh, well.
And this right path journey has been a blessing and it's been amazing, and I'm looking forward. See, because I allow God to use me because see, He won't misuse me.
Right.
He won't misuse us. You know, we have to allow Him. We have to allow Him to use us.
So, how do you integrate research and lived experience in your work?
Okay, I need you to repeat that again a little slowly.
How do you integrate research and lived experience in your work?
Oh, okay. So research is funny because we got some, back in the days we didn't have all these tools. Like research is at your fingertips right now. But
Mm-hmm.
things that's evidence based is more important to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like the things that I walk through and experience myself, I learned more from than research, even though a wise man learns from another man or woman's failures and success. So I do learn from other people, but a lot of my experiences come from me learning. And see, I learned this a long time ago. Pressure bust pipes will make diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
We'd never be a perfect diamond, but pressure, it's all the way you receive, process, and disseminate life determines on whether you're going to be a busted pipe or putting extra cuts towards being a flawless diamond, which we'll never be, but we put extra cuts. We put extra cuts in each other. Like just right now, we putting cuts in our diamond for each other right now. You know, just the beautiful responses in the chat. Those are cuts in the diamond. There's some people in there that we roll our sleeves up together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm loving, that they didn't find it robbery to come on here today.
Mm-hmm. So, what gaps do you see in human services that you feel called to address?
Wow, that's a big one. Let me tell you why it's so big for me. Because it goes into human services, but it also goes into spirituality for me as well. Because I look at the generational curses. Okay, if we look at society, every certain amount of years, a new drug is put in the hood. This to put a stagnation in everybody, right? So coming from the 60s and the 70s, you might have had a parent that was on drinking alcohol or even on heroin. But those parents, some of them could still be functional and raise a family and everything. Then the 80s came and it was the crack era. Now it's a different animal because people are losing things. I've seen people lose rows of brownstones. I've seen a cab base in the Bronx that was a prominent cab base. The guy got on drugs and lost his cab base. And so the 80s took us to a whole nother level of a drug, right? And now we heard this thing called the 80s babies. So now we got the 80s babies. Now those 80s babies are about to be great grandparents. So
Mm-hmm.
each generation from that, some people, because you got exceptions to all rules, so everybody didn't get touched by this, but the majority did, right? Each generation got diluted so badly that you see now the customer service is just bad. Like if you walk into an establishment, they don't say, "Ma'am or sir, I'll be right with you." They just keep doing what they're doing, and you'll stand there until they finish. You know what I'm saying? And then they'll turn around because they with attitude because they don't want to be there in the first place. You
Right.
know, so I look at human services being very important if you know how to meet people where they at for real. In order for you to meet people where they at, you got to get out your comfort zone because a lot of times people want to bring people to where they at,
Right.
but no, you got to meet them where they at in order to understand. Perfect example: you might want somebody to come to church,
Mm-hmm.
but they on the street hungry, so they first need is something to eat. So that's meeting them where they at. Okay, you plant that seed, and if you talk in the right way, the next steps you could get that person to church or get that person to any services that they need to be better than who they was yesterday. You know, um, that's something that I really realized about life is in human services or any part of life. Don't be in competition with nobody because the competition is not external. The competition is within you,
Mhm.
and you should be striving and competing to be better than who you was yesterday. Right? You have control over what goes on within you. You don't have control over what goes on externally. And that part is where I go with letting go and letting God. Because when I let go and I let God, I realize my will, I might think something makes sense for somebody, or I might think something makes sense for me. And that might be, especially coming from a strong will, me being a strong willed individual. So I got to realize when it's my will or when it's God's will. you know. So the changes in human services is the changes in the people that that's administrating them, but then you got to also look at the mindset of the people that should be receiving the services, because the mind, everything is mindset. Everything we do is in our mindset. So if your mindset is definitely not ready for something, you're not going to embrace it. You're not going to embrace it.
So let's transition over to your authorship and your writing journey. What inspired the Smooth Side of Roughness series?
Okay. So I've been sending out motivational texts and on my beeper back in the days and on my answering service at home. People would call my house just to get the motivational message for the day. So one day, it was 2000 and I say about maybe 2008 or 9, something like that. And I was going through something. It's around the time where some things was going on at the job. Things was going. Life was actually pushing me to not be comfortable. And my mother came. This is in the book. It's in the dedication part. My mother came with this big yellow envelope, and she slammed it on my desk and said, "You need this more than everybody right now." So I went in the envelope. I didn't know she was copying all those texts and all those messages all them years. So I sat back and I started reading them, and I started expounding on what made me write them and what empowered me, and it wound up being a book.
Mm.
Then the second, because my first book is more from a motivational, inspirational standpoint, and it has some biblical stuff in there, and that's for me meeting people where they at. My second book, I was sitting in Bible study. Shout out to Elder Cruz. He does an amazing job doing our not Bible study. He does our Sunday school on Sundays. And Deacon James had said something. And when Deacon James said it, I said, wow. So I went back. In volume one, I went back to each chapter and enhanced it in volume two. And each chapter starts with study to shew thyself approved unto God, a workman that needs not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. That's 2 Timothy 2:15, right? So I made volume two because I wanted to also have a book that, the believers in Christ would love to read, and anybody transitioning, because the goal is to reach everybody one way or another. So this inspiration of the books, my first book was a street life book. That's the one that got stolen. God said, no, I'm getting rid of that book for you. No, you go on a whole different route in your whole other life journey. And that's what he did. There's some stuff being worked on. The life story is going to prevail. But sometimes you just some things just left not said.
So, what did God winks and whispers? How did that come to life?
Because he always winking and whispering. Okay, I'm gonna give you an example. I hope my church members is still on there, so y'all about to understand why y'all met me, why I'm a part of this journey in Miracle Revival Fellowship Temple. Okay, uh, so I was with a friend of mine, actually, Carlos. I was with him. I was waiting on him actually, and I was in front of a building 1555 West 138th Street, right? And I looked down. And this is like in 2011, so I'm just getting into my spiritual journey seriously, right? And I look down, it's money on the floor. So I pick it up, it's $55 in all $5 bills. So I'm like, oh wow. I said, well, I'm going to pray 5:55 a.m. and p.m. every every day, right? And I do that, right? So we moved from the house abruptly to where I'm at right now. And I keep walking past this church. It says 1555 McCombs Road. And I keep seeing these three fives, and these fives are like screaming at me. Okay. So back to my third church, right? The church closed after the pastor who was the candidate. The election didn't go in his favor. He just moved on with life, right? Like I said, he did my forward. So I went on. My godmother passed away, and I was on unemployment. And um, she she told me to come to a homegoing service, make sure I wear my collar. And I got there, and the pastor that was there to officiate, I wound up co-officiating with him, or I would say just speaking. He officiated. I just spoke, right? And I'm like, my unemployment's about to run out. You know, we just talking. He said, "You got a resume?" I said, "Yeah." He said, come down to my office Monday." I went there, hired me right on the spot, right? So that church, one day he was sick and he couldn't make it. Shout out to Pastor Carswell, right? He couldn't make it to a prayer walk. So I go to the prayer walk. I got my bullhorn from my political side of life, and so I'm passing the bullhorn back and forth with a pastor, right? Back and forth with this pastor, right? So we, embraced. I remember Councilwoman was there, Bronxborough President was there, a lot of elected officials was there, right? Fast forward, my aunt passed away. Right now, my fourth church closed during the pandemic, so now I'm not in church for a while, right? And my aunt passed away, and she told me the way you did at my stepfather's homegoing service, I knew she would do the same thing. I'm thinking officiate. I get there, and it's a pastor there, so he officiated. I did just what she asked me to do, and do you know that the pastor got up and said, that was officiating, he said, well, I don't have to do the eulogy. This man did the whole eulogy already. We laughed. It was really nice service, right? And do you know, my other aunt passed away. And the same pastor, we exchanged numbers and all that. He was running late because they gave him the wrong time. So we sitting there after the service is over. I started, he came in, I announced him. And we're sitting there, we're taking selfies, just talking afterwards. I had his number and all that. And I said, well, where's your church? I need to come to your church. I don't have a church right now. This man said, well, my church is on Gun Hill, but last week was the last week for it. Next week, I'm merging with my mother and God rest the founders of our church. It's a legacy. Our church is a legacy. Pastor Caesar and my pastor's parents. For some reason, I can't get the name right now. Charge it to my memory. But I said, well, where's your church? 1555 McCombs Road. I'm like, okay. So then we sitting there talking, and the next thing you know, we realize he's the pastor that I was passing the bullhorn back and forth with at the prayer walk that my other pastor couldn't make it to.
Right.
See how God winks and whispers?
Hmm.
That's a wink and a whisper,
Okay.
right? And so I went. That the homegoing service was either Thursday or Friday. I went that Sunday, and I've been there ever since. Shout out to Pastor Jay Gooden Sr. He was on here. I don't know if he's still on, but he was on here, you know. And shout out to my Miracle Revival Fellowship Tabernacle family. Shout out to everybody that's on TNT on Tuesdays. Our TNT be amazing on Tuesdays on Zoom. So many people from different countries and everything we have coming on and all that and everything. It's really amazing, you know. Because if you give if you just nod your head at me, oh, I'm gonna give you a little bit of the gospel. I'm gonna engage you. Or you come to TNT or you come to church or something, you coming. You know? That's just me. You know, that's the gatherer in me. You know.
So, what themes do you find yourself returning to in your writing?
Returning to,
Yes.
I'm gonna always talk about unity and teamwork slash working as a body of Christ. Right? To me, team means together everybody accomplish the mission because nobody could do everything, but everybody could do something to get the mission accomplished. Right? And we all got certain gifts. And if we utilize our gifts together simultaneously, we get the bigger mission done. You know? So that, and then I also understand that I'm engulfed in many communities. I've had experiences in so many different communities, and I look at it, if you take the C, the O, the M, and M out of community, you're left with unity.
Hmm.
Words spell,
Hmm.
you know. It's a reason why that's like that. You know what I'm saying? And something that's that big, what seems so small, is really big. You know, because I mean, right now we actually in a podcast community right now
Hmm.
that's about to explode.
So, can you tell us how does writing help you process your own journey?
Writing is very therapeutic for me. And see, ghost writing is even more therapeutic for me because I learn from other people's experiences and helping them transition it from their brain and their hearts, tr- transcribing it. I ain't gonna say into paper right now because I don't do too much writing no more. I do a lot of typing. That's why I had carpal tunnel.
So, what do you hope readers feel after finishing one of your books?
I want my books to always be nourishing to the soul. I want, see, I set the books up where some people just read through the whole book, but the books are set up as daily motivation. So you can read a quote every day if you want to, but some people read it all. You know, it depends on what, you know. People got different styles that they learn. So, you know, but long, however they do it, long as they walk away with more than what they sat down with.
So, how do you balance storytelling with teaching?
Well, story, truthfully, storytelling is big in teaching,
Okay.
especially when you telling stories from experience or from other people's experience. Because, see, I can use somebody else's story, excluding their name, and somebody else could actually benefit so strongly from that story. So, storytelling is very powerful in teaching.
So, can you tell us what is the hardest part of writing about real life transformation?
Not for for me, for some reason, it's not hard. But me, like I said, ghostwriting, I actually had a couple of people that had to really pause because it was opening up wounds, traumatic wounds. And a couple of people I had to actually refer to therapy. But it takes they right into a whole nother level because now you solution driven. So you're not just sitting there with this trauma. You got a solution now that you're working on, you know, towards not staying in that trauma.
Mhm.
Some people got trauma from Pampers.
So can you tell us this? Because I know that this, I think, kind of like makes a whole lot of sense about your writing.
Hmm.
What book changed your life as a young man?
Mm. Well, I told you the series of books that changed it. Them
Mhm.
Donald Goines books.
Okay.
So what brought me down the other path?
Okay.
Um, Think and Grow Rich. Uh, I have another one here that's called Become the Millionaire God's Way. You have one called Building the Millionaire Mindset by Johnny Winbury. You have Trash Man and Cash Man was a big one by Myron Golden.
Mhm.
Big.
So, what book do you wish you had written?
Well, the book that I can't go back that far, but the biggest book, I talked about these books from authors, but the
Mhm.
biggest book that had anything to do with my transformation is the Bible,
Mm.
right?
So, you wish you had written the Bible?
I mean, I I don't I don't know if I wish I would have written it, but um, I wish that an evolution of it was being put together for these ages.
Oh, you
If
mean
that makes sense. Yeah.
are you saying like the real text of the Bible and not these versions that's being written, that's being taught, that are like maybe kind of watered down to some extent? Is that what you mean by that?
No, no, I don't because I don't question the Bible, right? And you got like meeting people where they at. Some people can't read the King James version because of the dies and the dows and what. So you got the NLT version, you got the NIV version, and those versions kind of put it more in layman terms for people.
Hmm.
So I believe that's needed. You know,
Okay.
I know when Michael Fulton was writing my forward, he asked me. He said, give me a few days." So he said, and um send me three chapters so I could look them over. So when the day that he's supposed to give it to me, he called me. He said, "Can you get me an extension?" I said, "Yeah, for sure." I said, "What's going on?" He said, "I can't just put any forward together here. I just read these chapters. This is a modern day proverb."
Mm.
So it made me have to research what proverb is, and proverb is actually the wisdom.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's the wisdom. Two of my favorite books in the Bibles is Psalms and Proverbs.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So, how do you stay disciplined as an author?
How do I respect discipline?
How do you stay disciplined?
Oh, how do I stay disciplined? I stay disciplined by doing it now. I got to think of the now movement. If you do it now, you can't forget to do it, and it can't pile up with all the rest of the stuff that you have to do. So
Mhm.
I got a system that, it happens a lot of times at night after I do my Bible reading at night and all that. I might, you know what I'm saying, pick up my phone and go in Word and start typing some stuff. Sometimes things come along. I even like when I'm doing ghostwriting for somebody, I put a outline together for them to put bullets because things come to your mind. So just put the bullet there so that way we know what to revisit, to expound on, you know. So um I lost the question.
I was asking you, how do you stay disciplined
Okay,
as an
discipline. Yeah.
author?
Right. So the discipline has a lot. The discipline has something to do with prayer and asking for direction and being allowing God to move me. Like when I was going through the changes, trying to get this green screen going and all that, at night, sometimes my brain is kind of If I rest and I pray, when I wake up, I always wake up with the solution. Remember, I was going crazy last night about this thing flickering, right?
Right.
Yeah, and we didn't get no flicker, right?
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
Nope.
we didn't get the full backdrop, but that's based on this platform. Yeah, yeah.
So let me go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was gonna say let me pull the rest of these comments here in the chat for you.
More comments? All right, y'all participating.
There we
Okay,
go.
Mr. Maverick. Hey, Al, what's going on, Al? Al from Detroit. Okay, Mr. Mike Harris. Okay, that's like a son of mine's out there in Detroit. Okay, back to Melissa. That's Barbados in the bills, and yeah, Melissa, yeah, you reminded me that I gotta go to Barbados. I know. Okay, Sherman, you know iron sharpens iron. That's my church brother, my big little brother. He know that's my Bible verse. Okay, Patricia Gordon from hey Pat from Bermuda. How you doing, sis? Wow. Okay, look, that's my little brother King from Vegas. He from here, but he from Brooklyn, but he in Vegas. I love you, bro. I love all of y'all, man, on this platform. And if I didn't get a chance to shout your name, the charge it to it just wasn't something that came up in the verbiage. Okay, that's my cousin Rahul from Barbados. Rahul's in his 80s.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I appreciate y'all coming out today, man. This was really amazing, you know. Okay, Diana. I owe Long Island a visit. I'm coming. Oh, hey, Desi, that's my sister Desi. Yeah, Mona, I miss Mona so much. Mona's my godmother I was telling y'all about. Yeah. That's actually my godfather Hank, Mona's husband. That's another wink. I gotta tell you that wink, right? But that's Desi is his daughter, so that's my sister, right? Let me tell you this wink, because this is an important wink. So my godmother and my godfather went to Havana, Cuba. So my godmother had such a great time. She kept on saying, "I gotta take you to Havana. I gotta take you to Havana," right? But she transitioned before she could take me. So I started working at a job where I told you after her homegoing service, the pastor gave me the job there, and I had this credit for JetBlue Airlines. I had this credit and it was about to expire, and I gave it to a friend of mine. Shout out to Keith. We travel together, all of us. A bunch of us travel together, right? And I gave it to Keith. I said, Keith, take this username and password. I don't care where we go, just book it. I don't want to lose this credit. Out of all the places in the world, he picked Havana, Cuba.
Mm.
Out of all the places in the world, I never mentioned Havana, Cuba to him or anything. He picked Havana, Cuba. So we went. So I'm old. I was the oldest one out of everybody. So they was laughing, saying, "Your room gonna be on the first floor. Our room's gonna be upstairs." I said, all right, cool. I went to the door of my room. I got pictures of it. I went to the door and it shot out to me so hard. I was like nervous. On the door, it says Henry's room.
Mm.
Henry Hank, my godfather, my godmother's husband, name is Henry, and it said Henry's room on there. Now if that's not a wink and a whisper, I don't know what you call it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I got pictures of that. It's one thing about me, what I'm speaking about. All right, Togo. Okay, I see you, Z2. When you come back home, man, I gotta go to Togo. I gotta go a lot of places. My phone's blowing up again. Each one teach one, each one reach one. Feel it, love it. All right, little bro. No, that brings me to this. Let's think about this. Think about a circle, right? Let's think about a circle. Matter of fact, let's make it a piece of pie because I'm hungry. We're gonna make this circle a piece of pie, right?
Mhm.
If you take that piece of pie and make a six to the piece of pie, that's what we know. We know your name is Charles. We know we on the podcast. We know my name is Andre, right? This is what we know. A very small amount of knowledge that we know, right? We bring it down a quarter away. It's the things we know we don't know. Like, I don't know how to speak Chinese. I know I've never been to Alaska. These are things we know we don't know, right?
Mhm.
But then three-quarters of that circle is what we don't know, we don't know, we don't know. We don't even know it exists not to know it. But if we look at everybody on this platform, somebody in that three-quarters knows something to fill up that rest of that, to bring us to 100% of knowledge,
Mhm.
right? So if we work together, we know more together. We
Yep.
better together.
Mhm.
We are definitely better together. And that's what I say about team. Together everybody accomplished the mission because nobody could do everything, but everybody could do something to get the mission accomplished. That's powerful. But what happens in the black and brown community,
Mhm.
we get divided and conquered over the silliest things,
Mhm. That's true.
and we get divided and conquered, but it's systematically put that way. Thank you. Diana, mommy is on. Diana said, congratulations, mommy. Yeah, hey, mommy is a mommy. I'm a, I'm a bit. I don't know if Jasmine is on, but Jasmine picks on me on how I say mommy. That's one of my the crew's wife. Yeah, and it feels good. Um, Anthony, yeah, yours is too. And guess what? A lot of people on here deserve to be a guest on your show. We'll talk about that. Okay. Anybody? Matter of fact, okay. Hey, look at Bam. Hey, Bam. Hey, Chris. It's coming up now. Thank you, bro. And I'm so proud of you. And you one that walked in my footsteps from the streets to human services to HIV and AIDS awareness. I have to come to Baltimore and do a book signing. I'll be there, I guess, soon. I don't know when, but got a lot of places to go. All right, Coswin, that's my boy. He's from St. Vincent. He's in New York now, but he's from St. Vincent. Yeah. They outside. All right, Rita. That's my girl, Rita. Rita in the house. I said, Diane, I owe y'all. I owe y'all. Yeah, big up to the family members in Barbados. Hey, remind me to talk to you about that, Lisa, because this actual podcast, I was waiting to send the rest of this with my EPK for that. Okay, Moni. I see you, pretty Moni. Right. Well, to every problem is a solution. And whatever, if you focus on the problem, the problem definitely magnifies. Focus on the solutions. The reason why the book is called The Smooth Side of Roughness because nothing is exciting as it seems initially. Okay, Lisa, cousin Papa, right, Curtis? I see y'all. I love y'all. God bless. Right. Because a lot of times when something happens, people emotions hit, right?
Mhm.
Okay, hey, there go Jada. Jada, she got testimony in my book too. She's one of my friends slash sisters from kindergarten as well. Jada Thorpe that just came up. Yeah. So these are people that have been in my life for 50 years. Look at Deacon Parker. We're missionary Katie. I love y'all. Right. So I was saying something. You know how I get when you get my age.
Yeah.
You must have made you help my life a lot. I love you, brother, too, and you help mine too. And that's what iron sharpens iron is all about. You know, I was telling you something. What was it? God bless you too.
You were talking about uh, He was actually talking about that trip and the wink,
The week.
the wink.
Oh, the wink. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I talked about that for Cuba, right?
Hmm.
That's where I left off at, right? It was something else. Give me a second. Let me see. Um, it wasn't another wink I was going to tell you about. Um, well, you got any more questions? Because it'll come back to me. That's how life happens.
Well, Nitro, I'm gonna move on over to faith ministry and your spiritual leadership. Can you tell us what does being a chaplain mean to you?
A chaplain is so powerful to me because it allows me hope to anybody, no matter who they are, no matter what race, what religion, whatever. Being, I don't understand why they don't have chaplains in these. I don't call them homeless no more. In these less fortunate shelters, you know, because that chaplaincy is important. But actually being able to be there for people. Here go devil wink. So when I was incarcerated, right,
Hmm.
I was putting in all these papers, requests to be a trustee. The library, the laundry, they always denying me all of them, right? And I was in the cell, like in about 4 or 5 in the morning. I get a knock. Open up this cell. Come pack your stuff. You're going with me. Like it's 4 or 5 in the morning. Where I'm going, right? You gonna be my trustee. I'm Chaplain Moyer. You're gonna be my trustee, and you're gonna be the chaplain's trustee. And I became the chaplain trustee. I was able to go through the prison, giving out the Bible studies and everything. And I um I also had the liberty to go all through the prison, and I had the only bed with springs that an inmate had in the prison, right in the chaplain's quarters. And for me to get to the age of in my 50s to be a chaplain, so that's God. He winked and whispered a long time ago with that. So the chaplaincy, the ministry, I am very, very elated to be the director and minister of the drama guild of my church, because it allows me to get with church members or anybody that wants to be a part and bring those messages that's so needed. The first play that we did was last Resurrection Sunday, and that one, it was funny because my mother does gospel rap, and she was a part of it, and it turned out to be really nice. And but it was funny because Elder Cruz was rapping, because Elder Cruz he's a powerful one, right? And I told him, when you finish your rap, mommy's gonna be in the pews. You walk down and just hand her the mic, and she get up and start doing the gospel. Now, mommy's will be 81 next month, right? So when she started rapping, the church was in an uproar for God. The people, I got the video, right? But it was really beautiful, and to be able to let myself be used for the mighty mission for God's glory, coming from the rough side, is like, how people say the chosen ones? I know I'm a chosen one.
So how does your ministry differ from traditional church spaces?
Well, my ministry differs because I'm able to, my whole life experience has a lot to do with why my ministry differs. Like, to me, in this era, right? I ain't eating no candy, evangelist. But me knowing that in the 21st century, if you show up to some young people with a suit and tie on, they might shun you. I might need to have a hoodie on and some sneakers and some jeans. because it's not how I look, it's what I'm saying that counts. When I was in Pace University, I took every slang term that I knew and transitioned it into grammatical English.
Okay.
So being able to meet people where they at is my ministry. So it's human services, but understanding that sometimes you can't regurgitate scriptures. You can leave them with a scripture, but everybody's not ready for that. So you got to get people ready, you know. And just knowing that me, see, when we older, right, we got an advantage because we was younger before. So I can revert back to when I was in my teens, when I was in my 20s, when I was in my 30s, when I was in my 40s, when I was in my 50s. Let me quit while I'm ahead. But I can go back to all them ages. A 16-year-old can't come to my age unless they vicariously get it from me. But a lot of times they're not gonna get it from me if I'm sitting there looking like their grandfather or they father. So if I, Pastor brought this to me and we laugh about it, but I use it a lot. A teenager, a senior that still got some teenage swag about them still, that could switch it off and on, you
Mm.
know, that's computer savvy, that's tech savvy, that got social media, all that kind of stuff. So, um, being able to have a different ministry has a lot to do with being diverse. That diversity is important, but I couldn't get that diversity if I didn't walk my ordered footsteps that I did.
Mhm. So, what is the role of a drama minister in today's world?
Uh, the drama minister is to be able to get a vision, write the script, um, and be able to direct or be able to co-direct and be able to understand each person's strengths and weaknesses in any production that you're putting together. Okay. I tell them, like, for instance, from working in film music industry, I learned that, and being in plays myself, God rest his soul, rerun from What's Happening, Fred Berry, that was my acting instructor.
Mhm.
Right. And a strong actress could help, say somebody forget their lines. A
Mhm.
strong, that's why it's good to know the whole script. Because the if somebody forget their line and you know their line, you can say, yeah, because remember you're supposed to go to the store. What happened when you went to the store? Oh yeah, when I went to the store, and they could pick it right up,
Mhm.
So it's all in letting God use you to bring that vision for his glory into fruition. That's what the minister of the drama guild is for me.
So, how do you help people reconnect with their spiritual identity?
My story a lot of times.
Mhm.
Um not downplaying people, not blaming people or judgment, definitely not, and allowing people to be who they need to be at the moment they need to be.
So, when you think about this, do people sometimes have a misconstruement, as to, faith based transformation or just faith in general?
Well, we all got different DNAs, different fingerprints,
Mhm.
different mindsets and all. So everybody don't process things the same.
Well, that's understandable.
Yeah. So allow people. It's back to the human service mantra. I meet them where they at. But
Mhm.
allowing people to be themselves, and this is a motivational interviewing concept. Allowing them to discover their own solutions rather than fixing things. Because
Yeah.
see, if you guide somebody to make their own decision on a success or fixing something, now they know how they did it. If you do it for them, they don't know how they did it.
Right. But so this I want to ask you this because I was just thinking when you say you let God use you. So when you say you let God use you, so for all the many ways and the things that you do from your spirituality and what you do inside the church with all of the people that you connect with, including your church family that's here now, do you let Him use you as to use your wisdom, your guide from your spiritual being to transition that into them or help them to get to that point? Is that how He uses you?
A lot of times I agree. I
Mhm,
agree. I've also learned how to step up and step back. See, I've learned, you know, I had to balance myself because I always took the lead in things, but
mhm.
I've learned how to follow also. So sometimes a person can be like at what they would think is they low,
Right.
but I need to follow them to transfer some things for myself and also help them transform themselves. Or
Right.
sometimes reiteration. Sometimes somebody's gone through something I went through before, and that reiteration of it makes me know that I don't want to go through that before. So that makes my my testament to it so strong that a lot of times a person embraces it.
Oh wow.
But I let that. Sometime I actually back up and move out the way, because sometimes God is handling something with somebody, and if He
Mhm.
don't handle it with you already, He'll make you go through it too right with them. Sometimes you got to get out of God's way, because He'll bust you upside the head again too. You know.
So let's transition to your mentorship and coaching.
Okay.
So what does mentorship look like in your world?
Mentorship to me looks like this. First of all, nobody makes it in life without a mentor or a coach. Nobody,
Mm,
right? And that mentor and coach going way up, going all the way up, better have a mentor and coach. So
mhm,
if I'm looking for a mentor and coach myself,
mhm,
I want to make sure that mentor and coach got a mentor and coach also. And for me, this is for me. The mentor and coaches have to be empowered by our higher superior.
mhm,
Also, that has to be the main mentor and coach. I call him Abba.
mhm.
Okay, what's his God's name? No, Abba God, right? And if you're not empowered by God, Jesus. Everybody is not. Everybody's not Christian. We know that,
Mhm.
but you got good and bad everybody. You got good and bad Christians, you got good and bad Muslims, you have good and bad uh, 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 doctors, you have good and bad politicians. So I've conditioned myself to sit back and gravitate towards the good and attract the good to myself.
Mhm. Okay. Um, how do you help people who feel like they're stuck?
When somebody feel like they stuck, I tell them you're not stuck. Sometimes God tells you to stand still. And when you stand still, you can hear Him better.
Mhm,
Okay. A person that feel like they stuck, I normally say to them, what are you doing in this moment that you're standing still? Because that pause means a lot. I know people that did 15 years in prison, and if they wouldn't have been in prison, they wouldn't be alive
mm, that
because
makes
of the life they was living. They
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be here, you know. So that prison sentence saved their life, you know. So stuck sometimes you feel like no, but no is sometimes not now, you know.
So, so can you tell us what is structural behavior change and how do you teach it?
I can tell you've been in my bio. Uh, um, Structured behavior change. I'm a walking, living example of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, many people see me on the rough side, so I didn't have the ability to go behind the scenes, get it together, and come back. So my highs and my lows was public.
Mm-hmm.
So structured behavior change is not being who you was yesterday and being better than who you was yesterday, and also evolution. Like my company is called Our Evolution Empowerment for a reason. Okay. And structured behavior change is structuring those habits of better and deleting those habits that's not best for you. Funny because our parents taught us the best that they could, but it was no instruction manual to be a parent. So some of the stuff that your parents, that's what I love about my mother, because some of the stuff that I need to unlearn, she unlearns it with me, and we learn the better way together. You know, because I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna chastise my parent for what my mother taught me. I was born, she was 19 years old. I was a knucklehead at 19 years old. So how better could I have been? You know, but life is about reinvention and reinventing yourself. If you can reinvent yourself, you wind up being that structural behavior change that we speak about.
So,
Because if you stuck in what you used to be or how you used to do, if you're doing the same things, you're gonna get the same results. You have to do different things to get different results.
right.
You know, so you have to revamp life constantly. You have to. You know, I watch. You know, I'm gotta say my pastor does an amazing job. With stop the violence here. You know, he's an advocate strongly, doing a lot of major things in the community, you know, and not just him. You got the elected officials that's a part of our congregation as well, and it's just some major things being done, you know, and you just be proud to be a part of something that's making a difference, you know. So mentorship, honestly, has a lot to do with the structural behavior change. Because if I can show you where I was and show you where I'm at right now, envision, because in order to really have your vision sharp, you have to know where you was at, you have to know where you at. I mean, you have to know where you was before. You have to know where you at, and you have to have a vision of where you're going tomorrow.
So, what is the most rewarding part of coaching?
The successes that I see, there's so many successes. Like I got so many people that I rubbed elbows with, I coached, I mentored, and everything that's doing amazing things in life. You know, that's the biggest reward. You know, and those are just seeds. That's, you know, you plant seeds, but a lot of times you're not the person to water them. You plant them seeds and you let them seeds get watered. You let God use other people to water them seeds sometimes. So sometimes, and this is for a lot of times with parents, sometimes you might give a child something to do or not to do, and they don't embrace it, but they can take it from somebody else. That's the watering of it. And the bottom line is that sometimes we just not the vessel. So if I'm dealing with a situation that I'm trying to show somebody. Not show. I'm not trying. I don't use that word. I don't know why I just used that. Aiming, because I believe we not try babies. We do babies. We not cry babies or try babies. We do babies. So I don't use try. I use aiming. But if you're aiming to show somebody better, but they're not getting it from you, you planted the seed because they understand it, but you're not the one that you're not the vessel to nurture it. You're not the vessel that's being used to watch that flower bloom. But if you want the flower to bloom, you're not worried about being the vessel. You're not worried about getting the recognition. God gets the glory no matter who waters it. And long as that flower blooms, that's the glory that you want.
So, what is the most challenging part of coaching?
The most counter inference and inference, like dealing with stuff that you dealt with before that you might not have completely dealt with.
Mhm.
Like sometimes things come up in somebody else's situation that you didn't realize this was something that you went through that you never dealt with. You just buried it, you know. So then now that's open again,
Right.
you know. And the goal is no matter what it is, if it's open again, let's get it repaired, let's get it removed. You know, life is about being solution driven.
So, how do you mentor someone who doesn't believe in themselves yet?
It's pretty hard, but I would tap into what they do believe in
Mhm.
or who they believe in. I would
Okay.
tap into that because that right there is a tool to start showing them that the external things is not important. It's the internal things. Sometimes people are scared of themselves.
Right.
I've, I've realized some people are scared of success. When they get close to success, they're sabotaging because they're scared.
Yep. That's a natural thing.
Hmm.
Final question. What advice do you give young men searching for purpose?
I said it early on. Go back to your childhood. What did you want? What did you like? What did you love? A lot of times that's it. And we run through life trying to find something that we already found or already found us. You know, and try, if you make your purpose not about you, it makes it a lot easier to embrace it.
So, in closing, what are some words of wisdom and encouragement that you'd like to leave for our audience? Tell them how they can connect with you via social media. They can connect with you on your website, how they can get the links to your books, all of those things.
Okay. So the books is on Amazon, The Smooth Side of Roughness, Volume 1 and Volume 2. I have a website, the smooth side of roughness.com, right? Spelled just like that. You have my social media, most people have it, but you have Mark Paul on Facebook. You have our underscore evolution underscore empowerment on Instagram. You have Dre's evolution, Drays evolution technology on Instagram as well. You have TikTok. Now my TikTok, I don't know it offhand. I don't use it as much as I should, but I can get it real quick. Um, but it's Mark something, and my YouTube channel is also Mark Paul. Let me get that TikTok for you real fast. And what I leave, hey, don't 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 ever kill your dreams because your dreams are actually the difference between a dream and a goal is slight. Okay, a dream is a dream. A goal is a dream with a set pattern, a vision, and a time frame to obtain it, a plan to obtain it. Okay, so always, never, ever give up on your dreams. Transition them into goals. My TikTok is Andre Paul, MOG Dre DRAY Paul 787. And my YouTube channel is, this was amazing, Charles. It was more than what I thought it was going to be, to be honest with you. It was amazing, really good. And I appreciate, again, everybody that was on. I don't know everybody that was on because I can't see only who Charles told that was on. I acknowledge, but if I didn't get a chance to acknowledge you, just know that I'm acknowledging you, even if I wasn't able to verbally say your name. Okay, and I love each and every one of y'all, and I just appreciate it. I just appreciate this. This was amazing. Okay.
So before I do my closing monologue, I want to tell you I appreciate you for being here. I appreciate your church family for being here and showing you all the love and support around the globe,
Amen.
uh, because that in itself shows community.
Amen.
And I think that the work that you are doing, as well as the work that you're doing together with your church family, means more for any community than you can ever imagine. And
Amen.
that's the kind of work and the example that we need to see going
Amen.
forward.
Right. Uh, I appreciate you, man. And we got work to do. Okay. My YouTube channel is Marg MOG Dre DRAY Paul 2141. But anybody that's on here know how to reach me. So if you need anything, half of y'all are already on that stuff. You know. But you might have people that was on that you sent stuff to and all that too. So um we'll make it happen. And like I said, I'll be getting back to you because I already talked to some people. Wow. But my boy that I was telling you about from Havana, Cuba,
Mhm.
just now hit me. He on too. That we all went to Havana, Cuba. Yeah, the one that picked the Havana, Cuba. When I told him to pick any place, he just now
Right.
texted me he was on as well. So there's a lot of people that was on. I'm not aware. I guess when this is over with, I could probably go back and I can see who was on. Right?
That I don't know if well, you probably, I guess, when you go to when you get the opportunity to go into the
Mhm.
YouTube, it'll probably show that.
Okay. All right.
So what I want to do with here, let me just close the show here with my closing monologue. Is tonight we witness the power of a life transformed and a life committed to transforming others. Andre Paul reminds us that purpose is not a destination, it is a daily decision. His journey from Harlem to healing spaces, from lived experiences to leadership, from struggle to strategy, shows us that change is not only possible, it is contagious. When one person chooses to rise, they give others permission to rise with them. As we close this episode of America in Black and White, let us carry forward Andre's message. Motivation matters, realness matters, and becoming better than you were yesterday is always within reach. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Andre, for your truth. And thank you, family, for continuing to walk with us on this journey towards clarity, justice, and transformation.
Right.
Until next time, stay real, stay grounded, and stay unstoppable. I'm your host, Charles King, and we will be back tomorrow for another great episode of America in Black and White. You all have a great evening. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Charles, and you gave, and I know that's your closing, but I need to add because you said realness. And not people always say they keeping it real. Realness is a state of mind that exemplifies the truth. If you can't be truthful to yourself or people, how real can you be?
That is true.
Hmm. Okay.
So you all have a great evening, and we will see you guys tomorrow night.
God
Thank
bless
you.
you all. Appreciate you, each and every one of you. God bless.